Good morning, everyone. Welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep. My name is Alpa Sharma, and this is our daily editorial analysis. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible to everyone. Good morning, Shivam, Ragini, and everyone else on YouTube. Can you hear and see me clearly? Good morning, everyone. Am I clearly visible and audible? If you could confirm that. Namaste, Shivam. I'm absolutely good. I hope all of you are doing great. Working hard, yes, clearly visible and audible. All right. So, yesterday I got a lot of messages, comments from a lot of you that the new way of taking the editorial analysis is, do you think it's more effective? So, I'll stick to that for some time. Okay, we'll see how it turns up. We'll continue this at least for this week. And if we think it's efficient enough, and if I think I can take out time to make such questions every day, we'll continue with this methodology. So today we're going to continue what we did yesterday. I'm going to take two articles today. One article is from the Hindu, the other article is from the Indian Express. We're going to discuss these two articles. And both the articles were there in yesterday's newspaper. So that's what we're going to do. But before we start off with our session, let's quickly have a look at a few things. Our batch 2 for the crash course has recently been launched. So if you are targeting CLAT 22, look no further. Jaldi se enroll kar lo, 2.5 months बचे हैं आपके पास. A little more than that. So जितना जल्दी start करोगे preparation उतना अच्छा होगा आपके लिए. If you're targeting CLAT 2023, that's going to happen December 22. Our foundation module new batch has been launched where I'll be also teaching. So if CLAT 2023 is your target, जल्दी से इसके लिए भी enroll कर लो. और अगर आपको MHCT, ALET, SLAT, BLET, JOM या ये लॉ एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशंस देने तो इसका बैच 2 हमने लॉन्च किया है बिकॉज बैच 1 ऑलरेडी फुल हो चुका है. बैच 2 भी फुल हो जाएगा तो आप लेट हो गए, अगला बैच लॉन्च होने में टाइम लगेगा. ये जल्दी से एनरोल कर लो इसके लिए. बट अगर आपको सारे सब्जेक्ट्स नहीं पढ़ने हैं, इफ यू विश टू स्टडी ओनली लीगल अफेयर्स एंड करंट इवेंट्स, देन a booster course and that is available with us where Abhimanyu sir and Nivedita ma'am will be teaching you legal affairs and current events. So look no further, enroll yourself right away at the earliest. Now you guys know I've made a few changes in the editorial classes that I take, and according to the changes, we've stopped doing some things and we've started doing a couple of new things. So what are we going to do in the class today? We will revise 3 questions from yesterday's vocabulary through one word substitution revision. We'll take up 2 articles, do a detailed discussion on them. One is from the Hindu, the other is from the Indian Express. We'll take out vocabulary from them, try to memorize that. In the end, you're going to tell me the tone of the author. You can write down the summary if there is no question on summary, because these 2 articles that I discussed, I will be bringing you questions from each page. Some pages today have 2 questions. So I'll be explaining that, but before explaining, I'll be asking you questions. And once you answer that, that's when I'll explain the passage to you. And sometimes if you want to write down the summary of the article, you can do that under my video. If there's anything else that you would want to tell me, you could comment under my video again. And in the end, we're going to look at the important articles from today's newspaper, the Hindu and Indian Express, that we need to read, and the articles we can skip. So these are the things that we're going to do today. Let's start with the revision. So the first word that we have from yesterday's class, tolerate or allow, typically is dissent or opposition. So when you tolerate dissent or opposition and when you allow that, is it sacrament? Is it ambivalence? Is it hard? Or is it brook? What should the answer be? Here is the good part, Shefin. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, my child. I hope you are benefited through it. It's taking me a lot of time to do it. I hope you understand that. The answer is Brooke. Yes, for sure. Happy birthday, Shreya. May God bless you. And may you always be happy and get whatever you desire for in your life. God bless you, my child. Happy birthday. The answer here is Brooke. Yes, it is D. Okay, Brooke. Hark is listen, ambivalence is confusion, sacrament is anything that's sacred. Next question. The legal status of a married woman considered to be under the husband's protection or authority. Is it notion, consent, anachronistic, or coverture? What is it? What should the answer be? Notion, consent, anachronistic, coverture. Yeah, yes, you're right. All of you are right. It is coverture. It is. It is D, coverture. You could eliminate the options, right? The options were easy. The answer is coverture here. Correct. Yes, coverture. Cool. Next question. Charm or enchant someone often in a deceptive way. Is it exasperate, tedium, beguile, or shrewd? What should that be? Exasperate, tedium, beguile, or shrewd? That is not shrewd, but that certainly is beguiling. Yes, beguile is the word. It's C, correct. Beguile is the word. Shrewd is smart. Tedium is anything that's tedious, tiresome. Exasperate is irritate, annoy. That's exasperate. Okay, that's it from yesterday's revision. Now let's start off with today's vocabulary. Some of it is there in the slides, but some of it is going to be there in the paragraph that we're going to discuss. So the first one is expedite. Expedite is to speeden up, make something move faster is expedite. He promised to expedite economic reforms. So he promised to speeden up or increase the speed. Accelerate is a synonym to expedite. Economic reforms here. Acceleration is a synonym to that. Good morning, Sakshi. That is expedite. The next word is here. Okay. The next word is a viability. Viability is okay. Anything that can be continued. Anything that is able to function successfully is its viability. So viability of the vaccine. क्या वो successful है? Is it able to work successfully? Is it easy to be carried out? That is its viability. He was an interest party in the long term viability of the British companies. That is the successful running of something is its viability. Expedite is impulsive. No, no, but impulsive can be related word. It's not a synonym. Okay. Impetuous be related word हो गया है. Okay. All right. Expedite is simple. किसी चीज की स्पीड को और फास्ट कर देना. So impulsive or impetuous related words. Okay. King Devil, that's exactly what we're going to do. ये उसी हिंदू के ही वोकैबुलरी है जो आज हम करने वाले हैं. ओके, उसी की वोकैबुलरी है. श्रेया, ये मैं क्लास के एंड में डिस्कस करूंगी. ओके. नेक्स्ट वर्ड डिप्लॉय. डिप्लॉय आर्मी के लिए होता है. आप फाइनली जब उनको पोजीशंस में ले आते हैं अटैक करने के लिए, दैट्स डिप्लॉयमेंट ऑफ पीपल, डिप्लॉयमेंट ऑफ रिसोर्सेज भी हो सकता है. व्हेन यू पुट देम इनटू पोजीशन जहां वो इफेक्टिवली दे कैन डू समथिंग इज डिप्लॉयमेंट. Forces were deployed at strategic locations. They were sent and they had taken positions strategically in the locations that were important. So that's deployment of military. It could be deployment of resources, but usually deployment is a word used for military. Okay. Adapt for viability. Yes, Ali, we can use that. Okay. Then deploy for avail. Yes, you could use that as a contextual one. All right. So the next one is here. Allege. You guys are law aspirants, you would know this word. You making a claim without any concrete proof, that claim is alleging. Because when you have proof, then there's no alleging. So he alleged that he had been assaulted. He claimed it. That claim may not necessarily be backed up with proof, but later on proofs come, then comes the verdict. So allege and verdict difference is of the proof. Allege is claiming something without usually being backed up with any concrete reasoning or proving. Okay, allege can be proclaimed. Yes, Devesh, it can be. Allege can be accused. It can be somewhat. Yes. Deploy can be allocate. Yes, Dipjot, it can be. Accuse, assert. Yes, Arshia. All of these. Yes, Ayushi. These are synonyms to allege. So slide number 1. Argue or affirm. Argue or affirm for allege. Yes, Rahini, you could use that. Ingenious for viability. Yes, Ali. Slide number 1. Quickly take a screenshot, everybody. Let's move to the next slide. Right, number 2. Due diligence. Okay, so diligence is being careful, aware of things around you, and that is due diligence. So, a reasonable step taken by a person to avoid committing any offense to anyone. You're careful enough not to hurt anybody is due diligence. Due diligence is required before taking over a company. You need to be careful. You need to know what you're doing is right, and it's not going to make any legal case against you. You're not going to offend anybody by the action you take. Once you are careful about your actions, due diligence is what you are following. You are diligent enough. So being careful enough is diligent. Okay. Declare for allege, yes. Okay. Yes. Yes, correct. All right. Distribute for deploy हो सकता है. ठीक है. Next one is riddle. I don't think we should be doing this word. Okay. Riddles. हम छोटे थे तो हम बचपन में एक दूसरे से एक रिडल पूछूं उसका आंसर करना. ठीक है. वो क्या है जो उल्टा सीधा एक जैसा. Basically that's riddle. So it's a twisted way of asking a question. That's a riddle. Kids usually do that. I'm sure all of us have done that when we were kids. They started asking riddles and telling jokes to pass time maybe. ठीक है. तो riddle में direct answer नहीं होता. It's a hidden answer. That's a riddle. All right. Combat. Combat किसके लिए बच्चे? प्रिया किस word के लिए? Due diligence is responsibility. It is. It is. Okay? All right. Puzzles are riddles, yes. Due diligence, श्रेष्ठा बेटा due diligence होता है जब आप बहुत ध्यान से कोई एक्शन करते हो. देखो जब मैंने हेट स्पीच पे आर्टिकल लिया था, यू न्यू कि मैम का यहाँ डिलीजेंट होना बहुत जरूरी है क्योंकि मैं जो भी बोलूंगी वो किसी को हर्ट कर सकता है और लोग मेरे अगेंस्ट केस कर सकते हैं कि लो मैडम टॉर्ट अब आपके कोर्ट में मिलो मुझसे आपने कैसे बोल दिया. So due diligence is very important. That is, you are very careful about the actions that you're taking, what words you're choosing, so that you don't hurt any sentiments and then there are no offenses that you do. That is due diligence. Okay. Next word. Riddle can be a puzzle. Yes, yes, it can be. Okay. Combat for due diligence नहीं होगा बच्चे. No, नहीं होगा. Next one is ruse. Ruse is a trick to deceive somebody. When you're tricking somebody, deceiving somebody, beguiling, like beguiling is. Okay, so that's ruse. Emma tried to think of a ruse to get Paul out of the house. Okay, so maybe Paul was unwanted in the house and she thought of a trick and deceptively sent Paul out. So that deceiving way of tricking somebody is rusing. Okay. Due diligence could be vigilant. Yes. It could be. Okay. What happened, Ali? Yes. Gambit and tactic could be ruse. Yes, Devesh. Very good. They could be related words. Deception, lure, all of these are synonyms. They are. Okay. Next word is inception. Inception is the beginning of something, the starting point, the culmination of, no, not the culmination, the beginning of something. So she has been on the board since its inception, since the beginning, since the starting. So inception is the beginning or starting. Okay. Stratagem for reuse, yes, a related one. But remember, in a stratagem, you don't necessarily have to trick somebody. That's the only difference, Neha. Okay. Eshan, yes, you could say that. Magician's magic is nothing but a ruse. It is, yes. King Devil Gaming. मेरी क्लास में गेमिंग नाम से इतने बच्चे आते हैं. गेमिंग करते क्या हो तुम? Why do you make such profiles about gaming? ये फ्री फायर के लिए. Inception is initiation. It is establishment, foundation. Yes, all of it. Nascent, origin. All of these are synonyms. Yes, all of these are. Okay. Next word is compliance. Compliance is to abide by the rules and regulations. Agreeing to what is demanded is to comply to that. All imports of timber are in compliance with the regulation. That means they abide by the regulations, they agree to the regulations, they follow that. Following that is compliance to it. Okay? PUBG. Okay. Got that. Ruse, again, Joseph, see, ruse is when you trick somebody, when you deceive somebody to get a job done. Is and you don't say directly, oh, move out of my house. That's going to be rude. So you trick them. Oh, I think my child is sleepy. I'd like to put her to sleep. So उसको समझ में आएगा कि उसको जाना है बाहर. So that is a ruse. It's trick. Okay. All right. Adherence, obedience can be compliance. Yes, Devesh, they can be. Origin for inception, yes. Compliance, स्वर्ण हो. Compliance होता है, रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस होते हैं, ठीक है. अगर आप उनको अग्री करते हैं, मुझे एक स्टार्टअप स्टार्ट करना है, तो मुझे रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस को फॉलो करते हुए ही वो करना पड़ेगा. अगर मैं रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस फॉलो कर रही हूँ, दैट मींस आई कंप्लाई टू दैट. मेरा कंप्लायंस है टुवर्ड्स रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन, तो मैं अग्री करती हूँ, मैं फॉलो करती हूँ उनको. दैट इज कंप्लायंस. ओके. ओबीडियंस, ऑब्जर्वेशन, दैट इज कंप्लायंस. ठीक है. चलिए नेक्स्ट स्लाइड पे चलते हैं. जल्दी से स्क्रीनशॉट ले लो. स्लाइड नंबर 2. Abide by. Yes. Correct. Correct, Mobis. Conformance, observance, bilkul Ragini. Both are synonyms to compliance. Following the rules. Next slide. Goad is to provoke or maybe to annoy and irritate. Irk could also be goading. So when you irritate somebody and irritating in a manner that the person gives you a reaction for that. Or when you provoke somebody to react, that provoking is goading. So he was trying to goad her into a fight. He was provoking her into a fight. क्या समझते हो तुम मुझे? क्या समझते हो अपने आप को? What am I doing here? I'm just trying to provoke you for getting into a fight with me. That's goading. Next word, condone, is accept, but accept something that is usually wrong. Accepting something that's usually wrong is condone. The college cannot condone any behavior that involves illicit drugs. They cannot accept this wrong behavior. So, accepting wrong things is condone. Not condone is not accepting wrong things. Okay? Irritate, nudge, provoke, yes, stimulate, all of these are exasperate is a related one. Incite, bilkul correct word, Anushka. Yes, incite, all of these are synonymous. Okay, that then comes a summon. Okay, again a legal term. The court calls you. Okay, come on, give me an answer. What did you do? Why did you do that? So it's an authority calling you in front of the court. That's summoning. If the person summoned does not appear, then he may be arrested. So the court calls you, come over and tell me, dude, what did you do and why did you do that? So that calling from the court is summoning. And the last one is short shrift. Any questions before that? Condone is forgive. Hemendra, it's a related one, not exact forgive, a related one, okay? All right. Exasperate. Court order बोल सकते हो, ठीक है. Yes, court order बोल सकते हो. Triggering someone to give harsh reaction, Kartikeya. Yes, that is good. Correct. Okay. The last one is short shrift. So when you just ignore it, you're not sympathetic towards it. Discard kar diya. That discarding is short shrift. The judge gave short shrift to an argument based on the right to free speech. He said, no, it's not necessary. He'll discard it away. That discarding is short shrift. Giving a short shrift is a phrase. When you discard something unsympathetically, you don't pay attention to that. That is a short shrift. Ruminate. Ali, I've got 80 people live on YouTube and I've got 20 people live on the app. There are chances I can miss out on your messages. I hope you understand this. It's a related word. Not an exact synonym, it's a related word. Okay? All right. Yes, it is Devesh. Yes, correct. All right. Avoid ho sakta hai. Can ignoring be a summon? Ignoring cannot be. Can ignoring a summon come under court contempt? Oh, Samarth, that I don't know, but it could be. Looking at it from a layman term, it could be, but then you have to ask a legal team. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't comment. Let's start with our first article, everyone. Okay? So, a simple one, but then I've got some questions here. So we'll be discussing questions and passages likewise. Okay. So this article is about frequency, fixing the frequencies first. Be very careful. There are going to be multiple questions coming up. See, the highlighted ones are questions. The yellow highlighted ones, all of these are questions. Okay. So read them very carefully with me. So, of course, with the budget coming out, you knew there was a mentioning of the new 5G spectrum and auctioning about that. And that happened in the 4G as well and 3G as well. And you know the scam that had happened previously. So, Nirmala Sitharaman had said that we are ready to start auctioning about the 5G spectrum, and we probably need that in our country. But then the author has an opinion about that. So, let's understand what the author believes about this whole idea of starting the bidding for the 5G spectrum. Okay. Someone can be asked, yes. Okay. In Thailand, condone our hostels outside the campus. Okay. All right. So here we go. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman's budget announcement that the government proposes to conduct the required spectrum auction. Spectrum के लिए auctioning होती है. And after the auctioning happens, people take it up and then they start launching the spectrum. So she said that we are ready to conduct required spectrum auction in 22, facilitate the rollout of 5G mobile phone services in 22-23. We are ready for that. That's what she said. But this has understandably triggered speculation, including about the feasibility of the timeline. So the author says, now people are speculating that this short period, that in 22 you would start the auctions and in 22-23 you would even launch the 5G mobile services. This timeline, this short period of time of auctioning and launching the 5G connection mobile services, is it feasible enough? People started questioning it. Is it not too early to do that? That's the question people have in their mind. Specifically, the author looks like that here. The government's keenness to expedite the rollout, rather speeden up here. The rollout was framed by Ms. Sitharaman as being propelled by an appreciation of the latest generation telecom technology's ability to serve as the enabler of economic growth and job creation. So, he believes that why did Ms. Sitharaman say this? Why did Sitharaman decide on this? That is because it is believed that the 5G mobile phone service will promote economic growth and job creation in our country. So to bring our economy on track after the impact of the first and the second and the third wave, this can be a required initiative. Propelled synonym. No, propelled antonym. Push, drive, thrust or tug. Antonym to propel. Antonym. Yes, Akansha, yes. Antonym. Antonym. So many answers. So many answers. The answer is going to be tug, because push, drive, thrust are synonyms. They can easily be eliminated. Tug is to hold back. Okay. So you tug it in, that is, you hold something back. The answer is tug as an antonym to propel. Propel is to push forward. So push, drive, thrust are synonyms to it. Okay, the answer is D. All right, so here we go. Got that, everyone? Okay. Here we go. So now her decision was dependent on the fact that she believed that this auctioning and the implication of the 5G mobile services will aid on to economic growth and job creation. Commenting on the budget announcement, Communications Minister Ashwini said that TRAI was expected to submit its recommendations on the spectrum to be set aside for 5G by March. So recommendations कि ये करना चाहिए, ये लोग auctioning में आ सकते हैं. It should be set aside by March, coming month. Adding that the auction of the airwaves would be held soon after. So possibly April, the auctioning would happen. In March, the people will be shortlisted, the companies would be shortlisted, and in April, the auctioning would happen. So technically, in the coming 3 months, this whole thing can be rolled out. That's the plan of the government. While last week's flurry of announcements, flurry synonym, rush, keen, drought, or none of the above. Flurry synonym, everyone. Yes, Samarth, exactly. Time also is a synonym to tug. Exactly, Sudha. Very good. Okay, so synonym to flurry. Anyone? Synonym to flurry? A, C. Drought. No, no, my child. It's A. It's rush. It isn't drought. It's rush. Flurry. Mixing it like a hurricane. So it's rush. Synonym is rush. Okay. So last week's flurry. Jaldi jaldi se announcement hua about 5G spectrum. If you don't know the exact synonym, you could look at the context as well, right? Because he says it was too quick an announcement. Have raised the possibility that the next auction of telecom spectrum may be held within the next few months. Of course, because by March they'll shortlist, and by very soon the auctioning would happen. And there is little clarity on the approach the government plans to take with regard to the crucial issues surrounding the introduction of 5G services. So the author here is a little critical. He says, I doubt if there's any planning that's done by the government on the issues they may face with rolling out of the 5G services. Foremost are questions around the particular frequencies the regulator is likely to recommend. कितनी frequency में होना चाहिए? उस पे questions हैं. The government's plan on pricing the spectrum. The second question is, what is the government's plan of what should the pricing be? The second question is unanswered by the government. And most crucially, the very viability of the new technology. Is it viable enough? Can we carry it out for a long term? Can we economically accept it? Is our economy ready to take the burden of the 5G spectrum? So all of these questions, the viability, the cost, the frequencies that we need, all these questions are still in a limbo. Both for the telecom companies and the economy as a whole. Is it a viable one for telecom companies and the economy as a whole? All of these questions are still unanswered by the government. With the financially stressed private telecom service providers, we know they are financially stressed. Specifically, you know about Vodafone. You've been reading about Vodafone in the last few months a lot in the editorials. So you know how much Vodafone is struggling to keep afloat its company. So the telecom sector is financially stressed and now reduced to a near okay, now duopoly is basically two mega players who are playing here, as Vodafone Idea continues to bleed losses and subscribers. So Vodafone is facing losses of money, losses of subscribers, and even plans to convert some of its outstanding interest dues. Now read all of these lines carefully. I'll give you a question in the next page. Read the remaining part carefully. I'll give you a question in the next page. Once you're done reading, send me a done inference question from the whole page. In a layman term, Sakhi, that is introducing the 5G network. In a layman term, in short, you can understand it through this. Once you're done, send me a done. Then I'll give you a question. Done? Here you go with the question. Yes, Kartikeya, you're right. Here you go. What can be inferred from the previous page? Tell me your answers. Question is still this part. Yes, the answer is both A and C. Yes, it is D. So, the government believes that 5G spectrum will aid the job creation process. There were two things the government believed in. One, the economy would be back on track. Two, more jobs will be created. And that's exactly why the 5G spectrum decision of auctioning it was taken. B, the author believes that the 5G spectrum auction is an effective plan by the government. Rather, on the contrary, he's finding flaws in the whole plan. He's given three flaws there, right? The viability, the costing. So the government believes that the 5G spectrum is not an effective plan by the government. See, says Vodafone believes that the government of India will buy its shares. Yes, that's exactly mentioned in the previous line when we said that Vodafone is bleeding losses and subscribers, and they are aiming at paying the outstanding interest dues to DOT in an equity stake by making union government the largest shareholder. When they believe that the union government will become the largest shareholder, this is dependent on an assumption that the government will buy their shares. Because if the government will not buy their shares, the government cannot become the largest shareholder. So it's dependent on that assumption. Correct? Okay. So the answer is both A and C. The 5G represents an exponential leap in technology is beyond doubt. Of course, the technology is going to be supremely high and it's a big leap technology would make if this spectrum is launched in a proper manner. But then the author says, however, remember when I say the author says, however or but, there is a very important line coming up. So what does it say? Most countries that have commercialized 5G so far largely find the technology still predominantly deployed as an upgrade replacement only. So it's not a landmark thing that has changed multiple things in the countries that have adopted 5G. It is adopted only and only as an upgrading for 4G in terms of end use. एक user के लिए सिर्फ एक upgrading हुआ है. So the belief that the 5G will bring in exponential leap in technology is actually a flawed belief. Okay, with the industrial and public utility applications envisaged still at least a few years away. What is the synonym to envisaged here? Is it predict, unheard, tempt, or exempt? What's the synonym here? Divjot, yes, this article discussed that as well. Department of Technology, exactly. Yes, it's easy. That's predict. That is predict. Envisage is to picturize. VIS is to see. So envisage is to picturize something about the future. That's prediction. Also for the new technology. Okay. Now read this line. A question comes up in the next slide. Send me a done when you're done. Done? Here you go. Why is the example of the frequencies given in the passage? The example of frequencies. Okay. Get the options. Sure. A, B, C. All the answers. Okay. Most of you saying A. All right. And D as well. Okay. I am proud. Let's understand. Before I tell you the answer, let's understand. So they say also for the new technology to work at its optimum potential, the government would need not only to offer key operational frequencies. So if the whole idea of 5G to roll out effectively, we need to offer key operational frequencies, including below 1, then the C-band frequencies around 3.5 and the higher to 26, but also crucially enable the transport or backhaul of signals between the base stations and telecom operators' core network by offering no to low cost E-band airways. The example of these frequencies is given to support the fact that the new technology to work at its optimum potential, the government would need to offer these. The first one says to mention challenges faced by the government to effectively roll out new technology. Second says to focus on the lack of planning done by the government. See, understand the fact, if you are confused with such a question, always read a line before, always read a line after. What does this also mean? ये किस चीज को ऐड कर रहा है? किस चीज को ऐड कर रहा है ये? Is it adding to the problems faced by the government? One, this, and second, this. This also, what does it mention? What is it helping? There are two things mentioned. One, that the end use will be a few years away. So this quick rolling out is problematic. Two, the government has to offer key operational frequencies. Will it add on to the problem in the planning made by the government, or is it about the high cost involved? Think. Look at the options again. You can change your answers now. Okay. So now to point out the exorbitant cost is not a point. Certainly not. To focus on the fact that dependency on new technology will take many years. That is not about frequencies. The first pointer said that. This is also wrong. I have to choose between A and B. A says to mention challenges faced by the government to effectively roll out new technology, and the second to focus on the lack of planning done by the government. Government की lack of planning है, but वो lack of planning result किस चीज में कर रही है? The lack of planning. Think again. What's the answer? A or B? Everyone, very quickly. Choose your answer quickly. A or B now. Agreed? Yes, the answer has to be B. Exactly. The answer has to be B. Okay? So it's to focus on the lack of planning done by the government, और planning कम हुई इसीलिए ये problems आ सकती हैं. So core idea is to show the lack of planning. I'm happy you are discussing it with me like this. With the COVID-19 pandemic having shown up the existing mobile networks inadequacies in terms of reach, especially in enabling the delivery of education, yes. So जैसी चीजें online हुई, we saw how inadequate is the delivery of the internet and the mobile network facility in the remote areas. Everything came to the fore, and it made the most sense to delay the introduction of 5G. देखो इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर furthermore इस पैराग्राफ में भी explained है that planning is not proper. It would be better if you delay it until you are sure about the economic payoff. That would outweigh the high cost, because 5G and launching it, rolling it out will not be cheap. Okay? The answer is going to be B. Chale. Okay, guys. Let's move to passage number 2. Again, full of such questions. Okay? And it's about the missing green. But okay, let's discuss it and then I'll talk to you about something else as well. चलिए आगे देखते हैं. The missing green. So for decades, environmentalists in the country have been alleging that a large number of infrastructure projects are implemented without mandatory due diligence and green clearance procedures. We've got green tribunals as well, right? Whose job is to ensure that everything that's happening in our environment in terms of industrialization, it does not hamper our environment so much. That's what the tribunal ensures. But if you look at the last 10 years, in fact, many years, you would see that a lot of infrastructure projects are ignoring the impact they are making, the harmful impact they're making on our environment. And then there are many irregularities as well. Their criticisms have sharpened in the last 15 years. Criticism to the infrastructure projects hampering our environment. They have sharpened in the last 15 years because successive governments have diluted ecological safeguards. What is the synonym to diluting here? Weaken, thin, watery, or all of the above. What's our synonym here? Yes, these are editorials. King Devil Gaming. Yes. This is from the Indian Express and that was from the Hindu. Yesterday's Hindu Indian Express. देखो बच्चे, summary मैं नहीं बताऊंगी. Summary बताना आपका काम है. That I will not do. If I have a question on summary, you answer that. But otherwise, you tell me the summary. You do some work here. Write down the summary under my video in the comment section after the video ends. Write down good things about appreciating this. I put in a lot of effort and I can proudly say nobody in the entire YouTube teaches editorials like this. Should I get it patented? It's all of the above. The answer is all. All of the above. Weak, thin, watery, can be diluted. All of them are synonyms. It's D. Okay? Alright, it is D. So, it is all of the above. So, the criticisms have increased in the last 15 years because many governments in the last 15 years, at least 3 terms, they have diluted the safeguards. Safeguards are mandates, laws, unko dilute kar diya, probably unko ignore kar diya. The public hearing requirement in the environmental impact assessment notification, for instance, ये explanation है कैसे ecological safeguard को dilute किया गया है under the ruse of streamlining the clearance procedures. 2 years ago, an environmental performance index of the Youth Universities ranked India 168 amongst the 220 countries in this standard. So we are at a very poor condition today. Agreed, everyone? Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है. Yeah. Yes. All right, guys. So read this page. Question comes up. Read the page and answer the question. I missed the previous article tone. I'll go back after this article and we'll discuss it. I'm sorry. Purva, you've got a point. Only weak is correct contextually, but you can't eliminate other options with that methodology. Remember, if you've got synonyms, you'll have to mark that. Read the page, answer the question. F, okay. A and D, okay. Yes, the answer is F. The answer comes from the previous page as well. So the government has been lax. We've seen that in the previous page where in the last 15 years, they have diluted the strictures. So it's the laxity of the government, laxity of the initiatives. No, the initiatives aren't less here. Okay. So initiative अपना काम कर रहे हैं. They have failed to fulfill their green commitments. But क्या initiative lax नहीं है यहाँ? सोच के देखो that these initiatives have failed to fulfill their green commitments. The omissions are particularly glaring because experts had questioned the environmental stability. तो ये भी तो हो सकता है ना कि ये initiatives भी careless थे towards fulfilling the responsibility towards environment. Think about B. C देखते हैं तब तक. Carelessness towards the environment, that could also be true. And ignorance of the fact by the project holder that they can harm the environment. So, if I say laxity of the initiative, D is a similar one to that. And if I have to choose one, D becomes a more detailed one. So, instead of B, you have to choose D. Thus, A and D become your answer. The answer has to be A and D. Okay. So, the initiative aren't lax. Maybe the initiatives are good. The fact that they are ignorant towards the impact they would have on the environment is what they are weak at. And thus, these projects have been a failure towards protecting our environment. Okay? Yes, the answer is F here. Correct. Both A and D. Alright. Okay. Read this part. Infer till this part. What should the answer be? Yes, demerit options included, and that's why. Laxity मतलब ढीला ध्यान नहीं देना. Laxity, Aishwarya. Okay. D. Okay. D. Okay. C. D. E. Any answers? Get this. Okay. Most of you saying D and E. Okay, let's understand this. At the heart, what has gone wrong is the absence of an effective mechanism to ensure environmental compliance. We've got laws. So, laws absence is not what is making the environment suffer. It is the absence of an effective mechanism that would ensure that people comply to the regulations. So, first thing why everything has gone wrong is an absence of an effective mechanism. As the newspaper's investigation revealed that the Ministry of Environment and Forests have less than 80 officials to conduct field visits. Why would the author mention this data? Why would he mention this data? Tell me this. And then we'll come to the answer. Why will the author mention the fact that Ministry of Environment and Forest has less than 80 officials? To focus on the fact that why would the author mention this line along with the failure of this whole idea? Because he thinks it is less simple to support the fact that there is no effective mechanism because the number of officials are less. Since they are less, this effective mechanism cannot be carried out. Agreed? Yes. So the assumption behind stating this is the fact that 80 officials is a small number as compared to the demand according to the author. The demand is more than 80 because the 80 officials that we have right now, they are unable to create an effective mechanism. इस पॉइंट को एड करने के लिए उसने बोला सिर्फ 80 ऑफिशियल्स है, तो वो 80 ऑफिशियल्स अपना काम इफेक्टिवली नहीं कर पा रहे. Demand is more than 80. So 80 is the number lesser than the actual demand. C बिल्कुल करेक्ट हो जाता है. ठीक है. अब मुझे B और A में से चेक करना है. A says the forest environment officials are lax at their work and the Ministry of Environment and Forest is unable to do their job effectively. हो सकता है वो अपना काम कर रहे हो, लेकिन इसके साथ साथ ये भी हो सकता है that the forest environment officials are lax at their work. अब A और B में से चूज करो, आंसर क्या होगा? Because C is correct. Choose between A and B. Careful. Between A and B. B and C होगा या A and C होगा? Careful. It's B and C. It's B and C. There is no evidence for A. The forest and environment officials are lax. जो कम लोग हैं क्या वो भी काम नहीं कर रहे हैं? हो सकता है काम कर रहे हो लेकिन वो लोग कम हो. ये भी तो perception हो सकता है author का. So it's not A, my child. It's B. A is wrong. Ministry of Environment Policy is unable to do their job effectively. हो सकता है because of the less number of people, because of multiple other reasons. But वो काम नहीं कर पा रहे. यही तो इम्पैक्ट दे रहा है हमारे एनवायरमेंट को. इट इज बी, इट इज नॉट ए. इट्स अ प्रॉपर क्रिटिकल रीजनिंग क्वेश्चन. द फॉरेस्ट एनवायरमेंट ऑफिशियल्स आर लैक्स एट देयर वर्क मीन्स वो काम ही नहीं करते, वो डिले हो गए. हो सकता है वो काम कर रहे हैं लेकिन ये जो 80 है ना ये कम है, तो उनके पास इतना बैंडविड्थ ही नहीं है कि वो काम कर पाए. द आंसर इज गोइंग टू बी बी एंड सी. गॉट माय पॉइंट एवरीवन? बी एंड सी. It is a proper critical reasoning question. Now, let's move to the next paragraph. The State Pollution Control Board's environmental tribunals. Tribunals का synonym छोड़ दो, बहुत easy है, discuss नहीं करते, time waste हो जाएगा नहीं तो. So these tribunals are almost always short-staffed. Again, short-staffed चीज इसी को aid करती है, right? So they are short-staffed. So possibly they are not lax. They are just less in the number. They are overworked. They can't do any more work. Instead of strengthening and monitoring mechanism, governments at central states have been relying on procedures such as post facto clearance and trying to goad project developers into compliance by giving them incentive. So वो कह रहे हैं क्योंकि लोग इतने काम में short staffed है तो उन्होंने एक अलग methodology choose करी है by providing incentives, subsidies so that people comply by the regulation, but they don't just check it, and that is the problem that has. Okay. Yes. Now, in 2020, for instance, a two-judge bench of the court called out a practice of allowing project developers to report a violation. So, a two-judge bench said that any project developer can report a violation by anybody else. And they said it's a derogation of the fundamental principle of environmental jurisprudence. They said, no, it's violation of this environmental jurisprudence. Allowing for an ex post facto clearance would essentially condone the operation and industrial activity without the grant of environmental clearance. अब environmental clearance नहीं मिला और उसके बाद आप बाद में आके violation को report करते हो, it's actually derogatory. So it does not work that way. That is what the court pointed out. Now, read this line and tell me what should be the para completion next line. What should be the next line? Para completion. Read it next. Okay, Ishan says D. Nandini, I'll have to figure it out. I'm still in the planning. D, okay. Everyone says D. Oh, you're getting better with it. I'll have to make trickier options tomorrow. Let's see that. The answer is D. As India tries to grow to a $5 trillion economy, the budget presented by the finance minister last week, for instance, talks of rapid infrastructure development, including the 5G spectrum. Its policymakers will need to ensure that such a budget can backfire. उनको ensure नहीं करना है कि budget backfire करेगा. उनको ensure करना है कि budget effectively काम करे. They have to ensure that it is implemented appropriately. भी हो सकता answer. They have to ensure that this infrastructure doesn't put the economy at stake, and they have to ensure that such growth. But क्योंकि हम development की बात कर रहे हैं, appropriate word has to be growth. That such growth doesn't come at the cost of the environment. Plus, when I talk about environment, it goes with the whole gist of the passage. So the most appropriate one becomes D. B is close, but because it does not talk about it, in fact, C is also close. But since it does not talk about environment, they become narrow. The answer is going to be D here. All right, let's do this quickly, and in the end, we're going to discuss the title of the passage. Okay, So this is specially imperative because this is especially important because sites of developmental projects are often located in ecologically fragile zones, and when they overlook the fact that they can impact the environment, they harm these ecologically fragile zones. Corridors between coal mines and thermal plants, such as the one between Kulda and Thamnar, are known to be rife with pollutants to harm people's health, contaminate water bodies, and impart farm productivity. क्योंकि उनका जो location it's so strategic, it's between some fragile zones, they can hamper so many things: farm productivity, water bodies, health of people. Obviating such hazards requires strong checks and balances, which we need to ensure. So rather than only laws, we need to ensure that the laws are made, laws are followed, and there are proper checks time to time. But environmental experts have often complained that short shrift is being given to the autonomy and antonym, independence, sovereignty, self-sufficiency, or none. Antonym to autonomy. Oh, it was given in the article? Oh, yes, Ali, it was given. Yes, I had copied the same line. Antonym, antonym. Sovereignty. No, it's sovereignty. It's a related one. Contextually देखो. Autonomy का opposite यहाँ sovereignty हो सकता है क्या? सोच के बताओ कि D होगा. It is sovereignty. Yes, it is B. Okay. So, but the environmental experts have often complained the short shrift is given to the autonomy of institutions. They are on their own, not concerned about anybody else, mandated to protect the environment in the country. The government must summon the will to apply correctives. Title of the passage: Living in Harmony, Development Very Costly, Development and Environment, Development Sans Environment. What's the answer? Contextually, Ali, because when you look at the context of the passage, see, understand why sovereignty. Sovereignty is open about everything around you, accepting everything around you. According to the passage, the autonomy is on their own and they are not concerned about people around them. Thus, contextually, it's going to be sovereignty, okay? C or D? C and D, A. Acha dekho. Now I'll give you a gist here. When you have to mark a title of the passage, always try not to mark generic options but the specific ones. So specific ones could be the environment ones. I have to choose between C or D. Development and environment, very good title. But then, is my passage focusing on the fact that this development is coming ignoring the environment? Yes. Thus, when we are ignoring the environment, it is more appropriate as D instead of C. The answer here would be D. What is the tone of the passage here, everyone? Sans means without. Okay? All right. So let us mark. Tell me the tone of the author, everyone. What's the tone? Swarnavu, I read your message. You can send it once, and I will still look at that. Concerning, highly concerning. Yes, the author is concerning. तो बोल सकते हो, but concerning ज़्यादा है. ठीक है? It's concerning. And quickly to the previous passage, since we had missed its tone. This one, the 5G frequency, fixing the frequencies first. What should its tone be? What should be its tone? By the time I open today's Indian Express, What is it? The first one, analytical. Analytical, yes. The author is analyzing the fact that this decision making, is it fine? And if it is not fine, what could be the demerits and merits of it? Merits, bringing back the economy on track, but possibly the judgment was too quick, the announcement was too quick. It's analytical. The first one is analytical. Now, two things, guys, before I show you the editorial today. First thing, guys, I'm putting in a lot of efforts to make articles like this. I'll repeat that. Please share my video, subscribe to the channel, and comment under my video if you like it. If you don't like it, you can say that as well, but you need to comment under my video. Okay? So that is one thing that I want you to do. To be on time so that you don't miss out on the classes. Share, comment, subscribe. These are the three things I would expect you to do. Please do that. I'll be very glad to read your comments. That motivates me to make more such questions. Let's look at today's Hindu and Indian Express. The Hindu, bold, gamble. No, leave this completely. बिल्कुल छोड़ देना, कोई point नहीं है. The next one, when the music stops. Yes, read this. Okay. The next one, a dose of science in the vaccination strategy. बिल्कुल पढ़ना है इसको. Yes. The next one, notes for India as the digital trade juggernaut rolls on. Yes, please read this. Next page. Or okay. Majoritarianism is wearing the wheel of पढ़ लेना इसको. Yes, read this as well. No, leave this. Let's look at the text and context. Yes, read this. Brahmos deal in India's defense. Skim through it. And the last page to text and context is Theory of Islamic State. कल एक आर्टिकल आया था इस पे हिंदू में. अगर आपने नहीं पढ़ा तो उसको पढ़ लेना और इसको भी आप पढ़ लेना so that you have an idea of about what the theory is dependent on. And know your English, you can read this. Let me open today's Indian Express and what do we read here? Have any questions, anyone? The first one? No, Shreya, that's not critical, that's analytical. It's analyzing, the article is analyzing the fact, the first article, that if the decision was fine or not. And what were the problems and good things in the decision. Okay? Yes, there's a class at 12:30 about inference-based questions. Here we go. India, no, this one. What the economy needed from this year's budget, छोड़ देना आप budget पे, ठीक है? India and the great power rivalry, yes, पढ़ लेना. No. हाँ, ये पढ़ना आपको, the first one. The solitude of Lata Mangeshkar, पढ़ लेना. Upsetting the central state balance, about the IAS cadre rules. Back into the news again, पढ़ लेना. Secularism has been weaponized in Karnataka, about the hijab row. Oh, read this. The U19 win in West Indies. Oh yes, हमने ये कैसे मिस कर दिया? हिंदू में एक भी आर्टिकल नहीं आया इस पे. बिल्कुल पढ़ना है इसको. The under-19 win. Congress picks Chandrajit Singh. No, don't read. Karnataka government invoking law to ban hijab. Yes, बिल्कुल पढ़ना है इसको. The center won't acknowledge pandemic suffering. बिल्कुल पढ़ना है इसको. And that's all from the Indian Express as well. I should see you at 12:30 on the BBA platform. Okay? और कल नहीं हुआ था, आज है inference based question. Okay? Yes, you should read that. Yes, Joseph, you should. Alright guys, thank you so much. Have a very good day. Shreya, what was your question? Let me quickly skim through it. आपका question था that I gave my second mock, though I didn't score, but you have improved. Very good. But analyze your mistakes and improve. That's what you need to do. Okay? Bye everyone. I shall see you at 12:30.